Good afternoon, everybody. This is Dan Franklin with SIS, and I'd like to welcome you to our next edition in our SIS education series. It is how to automate the distribution of Dynamics SL forms, and we're going to be reviewing a product from Liaison software today. Welcome. Before we get started, I'd like to introduce those of you to SIS who are not familiar. We're founded in 1996. Our headquarters are in the greater Atlanta area. And we deliver business solutions that help project and service-driven companies unify business processes and applications across the enterprise, thus delivering better visibility and efficiency. Our industry focus is project-based companies, so we focus very heavily on construction, general contractors, specialty contractors, energy contractors, engineering, architecture, oil and gas, professional services. Our services that we provide, in addition to Dynamics SL and Dynamics ERP products like D365 and CRM, is we can do current state assessment, business process analysis. We can do your full requirements and fit gap analysis all the way down to an RFP. We are full service. We do software design, development, deployment. We can do custom applications. We work with both the CRM and ERP products, and we can do rapid deployments for hub and spoke rollouts or just mom and pop small businesses. And we also work with both on-premise and cloud deployments. Why do you want to partner with SIS? Well, we are a Microsoft Gold certified partner and direct CSP. We have over 20 years of experience working with you, our Dynamics SL customers. We have a dedicated support and customer care team. We're a very experienced partner. And we have a very, very experienced consulting and development team. We understand your industry. We've worked with many companies like yourselves, and so we know the best way to bridge the gap between your business and the technology. We have a very broad industry-focused solution in addition to vanilla Dynamics that is built out for project-based and construction companies. Okay, so on this webinar, before we get started, if you have any difficulties, please send an email to info@sisn.com. Your phone lines are muted, so don't worry about it. We can't hear you. We will have a question and answer session at the end, and go ahead and use the GoToWebinar toolbar to type your questions, and we appreciate lots of questions. And make sure you view in full screen mode, and whenever you're in the full screen mode, make sure that you maximize the viewing area so that you can properly see everything that we're going to be demonstrating today. Plus, the webinar will be recorded, and we'll get you a link to it as soon as we post it up to our site. Okay, I would like to introduce Tom Nielsen from Liaison Software. Real quick before we get started, I just want to tell you, I met Tom this year at the Dynamics SL User Group Conference in Anaheim, and he was across the way from our booth, and I sat down and took a look at the software that they have, and I thought it would be a great product for our customers. I hope that you get as excited about it as I did when I first saw it, and I'd like Tom to go ahead and take this away and show you what he's got here from Liaison Software.
Thank you, Dan. I think you're gonna, there we go. Okay, I'll show my screen here. Just minimize here on the side here.
Yes, and in your GoToWebinar, if you're not able to see Tom's screen clearly, click on the zoom, or it's a zoom in the middle, hit the drop down, and check the scale to fit checkbox, and that should get your screen so that you can properly see what Tom is displaying. Okay, I'm going to turn it over to you, Tom. Thanks.
Okay, thanks, Dan. Good afternoon, everybody. My name's Tom Nielsen with Liaison Software. We're going to be showing you our Messenger EDD product today. Messenger EDD. EDD stands for Electronic Document Delivery, and Messenger focuses on business form and report distribution. So some of the key features we're going to cover here are batch emailing, batch faxing, if you're faxing at all. We still get a lot of clients that fax still. Built-in archiving of documents, and also people love Messenger for the ability to attach supporting documentation. What you're looking at right here is the Messenger print server. So we're going to spend most of our time talking about the Messenger print server, but keep in mind the people that use Messenger on a day-to-day basis will never go into the Messenger print server. Only the administrator has access to it. Okay, before we get into the server, I'm going to minimize this and pull up a quick PowerPoint and discuss really from a training session. This will be like a minute training session for the end user. Okay, the end user is the person that creates invoices, orders, purchase orders, statements, and it could be really any type of report. Okay, so that individual has two functions when it comes to Messenger. One is that you print through your existing print procedure, where the only change to that process is that you print with our print driver. Messenger relies upon your existing print procedure in Dynamics SL. And you'll see me process an invoice and a statement later on through the demo. But we're 50% done with the training, print with the print driver. The other function that that person would have is update email addresses and fax numbers on the customer record in SL. Okay, so wherever you're currently adding those into SL, you'll continue with that process, so nothing really changes. Now, for the sake of the demo, we're going to focus on the customer as the recipient. But keep in mind, we could be routing documents to vendors like purchase orders or EFT remittances. We could be sending copies to salespeople, to warehouses, to territories. If you're creating, if your payroll is done in-house, we could be sending direct deposit statements to employees and even password protecting the PDFs of those that we're emailing out. The last bullet here is the preference. The preference is the method of distribution. So that's typically either print, email, or fax. We have a hierarchy in Messenger that I'm going to show you next. Most people use the hierarchy to set that preference. But if it does, for some reason that a hierarchy didn't work, we could easily pull from a field on the customer record to pull the preference. So that's the training. Print with the print driver, update email addresses on the customer record. I'm going to minimize this here and go back to the Messenger server. And before we talk more about the server, just to continue on that hierarchy, this recipient list that you're looking at, you never go into this and update this. This is all initial setup here. We're linking back to SL through an ODBC connection to pull the email address and fax number from the customer record. What we have here is a hierarchy that you could set up on how the customer would receive the document. If you're faxing, you would choose a hierarchy like probably email, fax, print. If you're not, you might choose the hierarchy of email, print. So what this hierarchy means is that when we distribute an invoice, the first thing we're going to do is look for an email address in the field we're pointing to. If we find one, we email out the invoice. If there's no email address available, we look in the fax number field for a fax number and fax. If no fax number, then we print to the assigned printer. So this way, if you have a batch of 100 invoices, it's going to be doing one of those three methods of distribution. If for some reason that hierarchy does not work, we could easily work for you. We could easily pull a preference from an assigned field on the customer record. We would map to it here. And also keep in mind that we could pull an email address from the customer record and fax number. We could easily map to any field on the customer record to pull that information. Okay? So back to the Messenger server. The Messenger server runs on a workstation that you treat like a server. It could run on a server box, or it runs in a hosted environment. And it does run as a service also. On that machine where Messenger server is installed, when it comes to emailing, these are your emailing options. So we have over, getting probably close to, if not over, 1,300 companies have run Messenger over the past 20 years, just as this past August was 20 years. And by far, the majority of them have one Outlook email client set up on the Messenger server machine. That's where all the emails go out from. Keep in mind, we are seeing more and more people use Office 365 and SMTP. It also works with Gmail and a standard MAPI client. Just to touch upon faxing real quick, there's a number of faxing solutions that we work with if you're still faxing out documents. This top option is the most common for faxing, Internet Fax Service. This is where you set up an account with a company like eFax or MyFax or GoToFax, and we email the fax out to that outside service, and they fax it from there. And you just pay a monthly charge or usage charge depending on the different programs that they offer. So let's close this here. Go to the Task Manager. And remember, everything we're showing you here is all initial setup and configuration. The end users never go into this. Only the administrator would have access to this. Up in the top right corner, we could manage all of the settings that I'm about to go over can be managed for multiple companies. And once you set these rules up for one company, we could easily clone these settings for the additional companies, where you just go back and update email text for that company, or archive folder location, or printers. Okay, so you could easily clone that. So I'm going to stick in Fabricam here. On the drop-down list here are the different scripts that you could set up. These are just examples. They're typically used for business form distribution, but it could be any type of report. It could be management report or reports if you chose. Okay, I'm going to focus on two scripts to show you the features here. I'm going to focus on the invoice script and the statement script. Here on the invoice script, remember what triggers this is someone has gone into Dynamics SL, has gone through the standard print routine to print a single invoice or a batch of invoices. The only change to that process is that they print with our print driver. By printing with the print driver, it creates a PDF of the print stream and sends that PDF to the messenger server, which is what you're looking at here. We'll take that one PDF, let's say there's 100 invoices in a batch. We'll take it, we'll burst it into 100 individual PDFs, reorganize those in case there's multiple invoices for a customer, and then we'll distribute based on these rules. And this is what you're going to see kick off in a couple of minutes when I run the script. So line number 1 is an accounting copy. If you need a hard copy in-house to attach to other paperwork, you would have this line. Most people don't have that these days. And we could even label this. This is printing to this HP 8600 printer. We could label the paper accounting copy, print that in the bottom center of the document so you know what it's used for. Line number 2 is an example of a static attachment. What we're doing here is we're taking this 2-page marketing brochure, this PDF, is going to be merged with the invoice. So a common example of a static attachment is terms and conditions to a purchase order. So your terms and conditions would be the static attachment that would be attaching to the PO. Once we attach that document in line number 2, then we're going to send it out to the customer. If there was no email address available, it would be going to that printer, that HP 8600 printer. And we're labeling this a customer copy where we could print that marginal word there too. Then we have an archive copy. So for every invoice processed in this example, we're going to create an individual PDF. We're going to assign a name to the PDF using data off of the report and then placing it in this archive folder on the C drive. Okay, we'll use that archive copy later when we process statements. Now, 2 other examples here that I have shut off. This is a sales copy where we're routing a copy back to the salesperson. So how we're doing that is we're looking at the salesperson ID number on the invoice. We're grabbing that salesperson ID number, going back to the recipient list for salespeople, and then attaching, going to the recipient list for salespeople and attaching that based on their ID number here. So we'd be emailing it out to them. And then my other example, the other example here is a filtered copy. This line number 6 that's shut off. We're emailing it to the controller. So we're saying email to a constant email address, but we're only triggering line number 6 based on this filtered criteria that we set up over here. So any data that we're capturing off of the report can be used to filter off of. Okay. I apologize. 1 second, please. Whoa. Sorry about that. There's someone at our door. I apologize. I apologize. We had a service technician come in the office. I had to let him in. So again, this is the script I'm going to kick off right now. This script is linked to your existing SL report. Okay, so what we're using in SL, you're using either a Crystal report or an SSRS report, I imagine. It could be any type of report writer, but it does require the use of your existing reports. Now, I'm going to go over here to a Crystal report that I have open. Just as an example, if you look up here in the top left, I have some hidden fields that have been placed in the report. Okay, these are called data identifier tokens. These hidden fields allow us to capture the data off of the report that we need to capture. And that script that we just went over determines the tokens that go in the report. So if you remember in the script, we were routing to the customer ID number, to the customer number. So we're going to need to capture the customer ID number off of this report. We were routing a copy to a salesperson. So here we have a salesperson ID number that we would grab in order to route accordingly. If you look in the top right corner over here, I have my formula fields. I'm opening one up. Here's an example of a token. So these hidden fields, there's typically 3 to 8 of these hidden fields that are put into the report. We would work with someone from SIS's team to help add these into your existing reports, or work with someone from your team. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to run the script that we were talking about here. This 4-line script is what I'm going to trigger. So I'm going to turn the messenger server on. You see that green light? It's looking for PDFs to process. I'm going to pull up the archive folder. Just delete these 2 records from here. I'm going to pull up Outlook on the messenger server machine. Delete these from my last demo. And now I'm going to go into the accounting package. So keep in mind that Messenger works with any ERP package. I do not have every single one on my machine, so I apologize. I'm going to be working from another Dynamics product here. This would be just like going through Dynamics SL and going to the customer record and adding an email address here. So you'd go into your customer record, pull up the field that we're pointing to in SL, add a semicolon. Here I'm going to do this. I'm going to send this to Dan right now. So I'm adding his email address in here. Okay, so this is 50% of what the end user does, is they update the email address on the customer record in SL. I'm going to save that. Now when I send out a statement, I'm going to send it from this customer and paste it here. Okay, so let's close that. Now I'm going to go into this Dynamics product and I'm going to print an invoice and go through the standard print routine. So however your team currently prints invoices, you continue with that process. I'm just selecting a single invoice here. This could be a whole batch of invoices. Whatever that existing print procedure, you continue with the only change to that process is that you print with our print driver. There's the Messenger print driver. When I hit that print button in the bottom center, it's going to create a PDF of the print stream and send the PDF to the Messenger server in the background. The Messenger server will then, that light will turn from green to yellow, meaning it's processing the PDF based on that script that we went through. So let's hit print and watch that green light. It's yellow and done. So it's printing the accounting copy to the printer behind me at my desk. There is the archive copy we just created, and there's the email that was sent to Dan and myself. So if you remember, let's show you this first. Here on the subject line, here we have the invoice number in the subject line. So we took data from the report and placed it in the subject line of the email. Here's the PDF that we created. And if you look up in the top center, you can see it's a 3-page PDF. Page 1 is the invoice, page 2 and page 3 is the brochure that we attached. That's the static attachment that we included. So we're going to show you one more feature now. We're going to show you the variable attachment feature, and people buy Messenger just for this feature. Let's go back to the invoice script. If you remember, we archived the invoice to a folder. Now we'll jump to the statement script. Line number 2 in the statement script is the variable attachment. So what's happening here is we're looking through those tokens, those hidden fields. We're looking at all the data. We're looking at all the invoice numbers listed on the statement. We're grabbing the data from those fields. going back into this archive folder, retrieving all the applicable copies of those invoices and merging them together. So if your company has a collections department they call past due accounts, they would probably love this, because when they call a past due account, one of the first things you hear is, well, we never got that invoice, can you send it again? So this statement attaching the invoices to the statement would help streamline that whole process. We're sending it to the customer, and then we're archiving it to a folder. Now, you typically don't archive statements like I'm doing here, but you could be archiving invoices. That could be, you could be attaching supporting documents to invoices. So let's run the statement script now. Got the green light on again. I'm going to go to the archive folder. I'm going to pull up Outlook, and I'm going to process a statement now. So again, you'd go through SL, and you'd process a statement through your normal routine, selecting, say, customer A to customer Z, everybody over 45 days, whatever that selection criteria is, you continue with that process with the only change that you print with our print driver. When I hit that print button, watch that green light again, and you'll see the folders get populated. Here we go. It's yellow and done. There's the statement that we just created, and this PDF is identical to the PDF attached to this email. Let's open up that PDF, and let's zoom in a little bit here to show you what we did. So we took the data from these three fields, these three invoice numbers. We used that data to come up with a naming convention of the PDFs that we retrieved from this folder. So you can see this is now a 4-page PDF where we've bookmarked copies of those invoices over here on the left. And again, this is an example of a variable attachment, and it's the most common way that a variable attachment is used. So that is Messenger EDD. Dan, we could open it up for questions right now if you'd like.
Sure. Well, while we're waiting for a few questions to follow to start funneling in, probably one of the biggest questions I would expect we're going to get, and I'll go ahead and just ask it, is what's the difference between the Liaison Messenger EDD and just having quick send, which is built into Dynamics SL? So do you want me to answer that question, or would you like to?
That would be great. Yep.
Okay. And so QuickSend is a product that does something similar to this, but it doesn't have the features that, well, what Tom just showed us, where you can take a statement and then take any attached invoices based upon common values and build complex emails from it. QuickSend can do the basic. It can send out the invoice and it can send out the statement, but it doesn't really have a whole lot of configuration or other types of things. The configuration of QuickSend, in our opinion, is a bit more tricky, and you've got to watch it a little bit more. The stability of the Liaison, I would recommend if you want to have an environment that is robust and it works well and doesn't take a whole lot of maintenance. The Liaison Messenger is really the product we recommend that you should go with. If you're doing some basic one-off type things, QuickSend I think will do the job. But, so that's the biggest overall high-end difference between the two products is just the amount of configuration and the quality and the content of the emails that can be sent out. We do have a question from I think it's Bratton. Can we do this for invoices created through SL Flexible Billings module, or is it just for AR invoices?
Yes, Messenger can work with any report out of any module of SL, any third-party product, any ERP package. Because if you remember what we were showing you here, this is from a real high level again, is what we did here is we created a script around a report. That's what you're looking at here. Then we put the proper hidden fields into your existing report. And then you just printed with the print driver. So yes, it does work with flexible billing. It works with any module of SL.
Okay, thanks, Tom. The next question is from Catherine. Can we still use a print preview feature without it sending to the customer? We only want to send the invoice batches that we keep. So we want to do like a preview first, see it, make sure that it's fine, and then do a second round and actually have those go out to the customers.
Right. There's a couple ways to do that. Well, one, if you have a print preview feature in SL, remember what gets it to Messenger is just printing with our print driver. Okay, but the print driver that I chose in the process was the primary print driver. We do have a secondary print driver that gives you a preview window of the PDF, not with the attachments yet, but of the PDF that was created in SL. So you could actually go through all the pages of that PDF, and then you could hit process. By hitting process, it takes the PDF and sends it to our Q1 folder at the Messenger server. So you could preview it either way.
Okay, thanks, Tom. Another question is, does the Liaison product, can it just generate PDF copies and put them out into a folder somewhere? So if we are, let's say, printing checks, and of course you don't want to email a check, but so we're going to print the checks, but we want a copy of those checks to go into a folder so that we can take those checks and store them somewhere. So can the Liaison product also be a tool for generating copies of documents that we're printing on paper?
Okay, so let me answer this two ways here, because you bring up a check, and with a check you have pre-printed, well, most of the time you have pre-printed check stock that you're using. So obviously we're just working with the print stream. You wouldn't have the actual shaded background and security features of check stock in that PDF that's created. But yes, it can do that. So it could be any type of document. That would be like an archive copy here. So whatever you're printing with the print driver, some people use it, like you said, just to archive. You would just have one line in the script that would archive the print stream to a folder, and then it would name that PDF based on data in the report.
That's correct. So to follow up on a previous question, the question is, so you can have a script that will send draft invoices to internal project managers and then final invoices to clients. So the question there is, you said that there was a preview print driver. Can we have different rules on that preview print driver so that those copies go to a different set of recipients than on the main print driver?
Well, let me ask you this. I don't know if you could if you have to open that call up to get the get some more information here, but you want to send these to project managers. Like if I go back to the invoice script here, we have a copy going to the customer, and then we have a copy going to a salesperson.
Yeah, but it's an approval process, so it would be a draft invoice.
Process.
So okay. There's a draft version. It doesn't even have a real invoice number yet. This is the way SL works. So you can do draft invoices. The project managers look at them. They look exactly like an invoice, except at the top it says draft and it doesn't have an invoice number.
So is there something in the data that's telling us that it's at the draft stage?
Yes. And
okay.
We can also put the project manager's name or email address or whatever we need to send it to that project manager on the draft invoice, because it's not going to the customer.
Right. So what we would do is we would use, again, using data through those tokens, those hidden fields, it's going to tell us that it's at the draft stage. And then it's going to, we would have filters on all these lines except for the project manager. Well, we would have a filter on the project manager level copy too. So when it reaches that stage, the project manager line would have a filter that says, okay, it's at this stage of the invoice process, or if it's still in order, and then it's going to only route line number 5, which is the project manager copy. Once it gets past that stage and you've now converted it into an invoice where it has an invoice number, then there's other data that's going to tell us to then trigger these other lines in the script. So you definitely can do that by either having a different script altogether or just filtering lines in the script that tell us what stage that invoice is at.
Okay. So I appreciate all of this. I mean, this is demonstrating the flexibility that this product gives you. I mean, really the return on investment is going to be very quick, because just imagine the amount of time that all of you who are listening to this broadcast spend manually printing things out, creating emails, sending it to customers, especially because QuickSend can't take attachments. Like you send a statement and they want all the invoices backing up that statement. That's a very manual process. So once you have the Liaison software configured and you have these different scripts enabled, communicating the information to customers or your project managers or whoever needs to receive these documents is just the press of a button and picking the right script to the right print driver. I think it's a great product. And Tom, I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about what an implementation looks like, but probably we have some time here.
Yeah, a typical installation on average takes about 2 hours to do remote setup, and that's when we're doing a remote configuration. So we have Dan would be placing an order with us, and then we'd be following up with either someone from his team or someone from the customer site, and provide them with we call it our next step email. So give me a second. I'm going to pull that up here. So we'd be sending the executable and registration file out, and then we'd be following up with these attachments here, and we'd be walking through the steps. So that individual, that's kind of the project manager on the customer side, would be completing our pre-install requirements checklist. They'd be completing what's called a script configuration spreadsheet, and then once those 2 items are sent back to us, then they would contact tech support to schedule the time for the remote setup. But it very rarely takes us more than 2 hours to do remote setup. We try to have it down to a science to make it really saving everybody time on our end and the customer site by getting these documents completed before we do the remote setup.
Right, and the services that we provide at SIS would be helping to get the fields into the crystal reports so that so the liaison systems can pick it up properly. So it's going to be a combination of some time from the liaison folks and from us here at SIS to help get you going. Okay, well, I'm not seeing any more questions. If anybody has another one, you got about 15 seconds to get it out. Otherwise, we're going to go ahead and shut down our presentation. Okay. Well, thank you everybody for attending the webinar. Again, we're going to have a copy of this posted up to our website. We'll send everybody here that attended the link. And if you have any other questions, please go ahead and email us at SIS. You can email me, dfranklin@sisn.com, or you can email Eric or Debbie at SIS, and we will make sure we get all the information that you need. Everybody have a great day, and thank you very much, Tom.
Thank you. Take care. Bye.
Bye-bye.